It's great, great intro. Welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen.
This is Tina. What's up, guys?
All
It's
right.
been a few weeks,
It's been a few weeks. It's been a busy May. It's June now. It's
and
mid-June. Jesus Christ, you're right.
it's middle of June.
We've been
Rick
gone
and
for a
Morty
while.
season 5 starts tonight.
Rick and Morty season 5 starts tonight. I still haven't seen season
Yeah.
3 or 4. I think. The last
Oh,
episode,
God.
the last episode I remember watching was the Szechuan sauce episode. Was that season 3 or 4?
I think that was 3.
Okay, I'm way behind then. Yeah, sure.
I mean, if there's any indicator, like most good series, they become less, I don't know, interesting or funny after like 5 seasons. So this might be the last really good season.
What about It's Always Sunny? That's held its own for over 10 seasons, and I'd say that the new content
Have
is
you
as good as
watched?
the old.
Have you?
Oh, I haven't
you-
seen the last season.
Okay.
The last
I think
episode, the last episode I saw was Max Dance.
Okay.
That
I
season
actually
was
never
good,
saw
though.
that one, but
That was a good.
I mean, it's still good, but like, you know, the best stuff is still in the first probably 6-ish seasons, right?
I would agree. Like if you're a good comedy writer and you got a story to tell, you really got what you're trying to tell within the first 3 seasons, I think, and then after that it's just sort of money. keep it going.
Yeah.
For
Or
re-
you just have to do something fundamental characters to switch it up so much that almost essentially becomes a new show.
That's actually what I respect a lot about British comedies and British shows in general, right? Because they never go too much more than like 1 or 2 seasons tops. Most shows.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, think about the original Office. That was only 2 seasons and like 12 episodes. Or Extras. It's all Ricky Gervais stuff because I love his stuff. That was 2 seasons as well, and it was 12 episodes or so. I'd have to look into more comedy shows from BBC to find out. Well, like Garth Marenghi. I've always told you I love that show. The one with the horror writer guy.
Yeah, we've seen it together.
IT Crowd. So I love
I
British.
haven't seen that.
Really? I love British comedy.
Heard of it.
Yeah, I love British comedy, but it usually only goes like 2-3 seasons tops. Okay.
Is their humor so dry that, you can't stand more than like 2 seasons?
I don't think so. I don't think it's that dry. I think The Office was a bit dry, but I think most of their other comedies can be very just tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted fun, I think.
Okay.
IT Crowd definitely is sort of quirky and goofy. It's
I'll
not
have to
dry.
check it out.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? But like speaking of Rick and Morty, you and I should do a reaction to some Rick and Morty episodes, and that could be a whole podcast.
Sure.
Yeah.
We definitely are in need of some more reaction videos. They tend to get the juices flowing.
Right. And I've been watching WandaVision all day.
Oh, what do you think?
It's a great show. It's so interesting.
I started watching Loki the other day, but WandaVision, it's kind of interesting the first few episodes, right? And it kind of does some unconventional things. But then have you finished it?
No, I haven't finished it, so don't spoil anything. I got to.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil it for any of our viewers, but what I really like about the show is the story is really interesting for one, and they always do like every episode is its own like decade sort of commentary sitcom. So it starts off with the 50s sitcom that goes to 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then up to today. That's the episode I watched most recently. Was like Modern Family spoof, I guess.
Yeah.
But then
and
there's a bigger story going on in the background of all of that that's actually really fascinating and interesting.
Yeah. I just like how different it is, and I'm a big Elizabeth Olsen fan. I think she's hot. So
We were talking about that right after finishing the last episode too. She is the sister of Mary Kate and Ashley?
yeah. And also the brother of some guy too, but I don't remember his name.
She's the sister of a brother.
Yeah, she
But-
does have a brother.
Yeah, but I never put 2 and 2 together. Her last name is Olsen, and she looks just like the Olsen twins, but I didn't know that.
Taller.
Yeah,
She's like a head taller.
than the other 2. I know, right? And like I just said, I think she's a lot more attractive than the other 2 because the other 2 look like they went through some shit.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors and stuff. but
What? Really? Is it
oh,
Hollywood
like
stuff?
I think like drugs and plastic surgery and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very private people, actually. It's like seems like they were hiding Elizabeth Olsen actually for like years. Like I don't remember her in anything until maybe Marvel, and even then, it kind of never really clicked until WandaVision, really.
I don't think I recognize her from anything other than Marvel.
I've seen her in one other movie. I forget what it's called with Jeremy Renner. She plays a green FBI agent. She has to go in tribal land and solve a mystery.
God, that's too obscure for me. I stick to the main titles: Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and Star Wars is fucking crap. But that's a
So I have
common.
to watch more Marvel.
Yeah, I had to more Marvel because it's the only thing that's good these days. That's a whole common.
Loki's good too. You
I
should
yeah. See, when Loki came out, that's when I said to Mary, I want to see Loki, but I still haven't even watched WandaVision. I know that's supposed to be good. I really want.
yeah.
So, and I'm enjoying it. But anyways, let's get to the topic at hand because it's actually an important topic and it's interesting to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But this is from Insider Mag. Have no idea about them, but it says survey shows people no longer believe working hard will lead to a better life. First impressions?
Um, I uh, I think it's true, honestly.
It's
I
true
think
that.
we've reached a threshold at least.
So okay, so you think it's true that working hard doesn't actually lead to a better life?
It also mean what do they mean by better life too?
We'll get
You
into
know.
that. I haven't read the article for the record. I'm lazy. I want to react with you. All right.
Insider Mag, it's a known magazine that's now
It's
on
a
the internet.
known magazine.
You've
It's not one of those.
heard of Insider, right?
I just read Hustler. And I read the articles. I don't care for the pictures.
You're single-handedly keeping them in business.
That's right. Do you remember a couple years ago when Playboy said we're no longer gonna show pictures of naked women? We just want to focus on the articles.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when that happened. I think we were gonna talk about that. Actually, it might have been one of our earliest topics on this podcast.
It was. Yeah, it
And
was.
I think okay, 2 points. One, they realize that the internet exists, so magazines don't mean dick anymore. But two, no one cares about the articles anyways. So.
If anything, they should have dove deeper and become more pornographic.
Once again, a topic.
Hindsight is 2020.
All right. Here we go. A growing sense of inequality is undermining trust in both society's institutions and capitalism, according to a long-running global survey. The 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer, now in its 20th year, never heard of it, but I'll trust it, has found many people no longer believe working hard will give them a better life. Despite strong economic performance, a majority of respondents in every developed market do not believe they will be better off in 5 years' time. Interesting. So they think their lives are going to get harder in the next 5 years. What would you think about that?
Hmm. And this is in every market too, not just
Right.
you know.
I think it's all the developed countries in general, not just the United States.
Hmm.
And I think that it makes sense from a certain standpoint because you can kind of make a point for developing countries. Those that work hard are going to get ahead because they can produce more. But in our modern economy, I don't think that hard work alone is going to get you much. I don't.
Hard work can get you to a certain point, but luck and skill is gonna be the rest.
Right. I would say that hard work is sort of a prerequisite to get a better life. Like, let's put it this way. Like, you take I think it comes down to personal connections, like networking. People skills is important. Really, if you don't have
I've gotten
people
every
skills,
job I've gotten.
yeah, and you don't have people skills.
True.
So it's amazing. Imagine where you'd be if you had them.
Jesus.
I'm just teasing. But it takes networking, just overall skills, people skills mostly, and I'd say luck. But like, let's take those conditions and give it to a lazy person. I don't know if it's going to be. So I would say that hard work is a prerequisite to have a better life, but it's not a guarantee. It's certainly not.
Hmm. And there's certainly, I don't know. Would you say every successful person you know is hardworking, or do you think some people kind of
No.
got lucky?
I wouldn't say luck. I just think I would really hammer in on the people skills thing.
Okay, I
I've
gotcha.
known some very charismatic people who can rise,
Hmm.
despite the fact that they are lazy. To be honest, I go back to college. I remember I had a coworker who was the laziest motherfucker on the planet, but he was such a charismatic, likable guy that he moved up the ladder of success pretty quickly.
Okay. I mean, and part of, becoming successful too is being able to delegate more harder, tasks to other people. And
Nader,
it's,
do you
it's
think
very true.
do you think
Yeah.
Nader is successful because he's hardworking or because he's charismatic?
I think
I don't
it's
even know.
more to do with
Yeah.
charisma, but I don't know. I haven't, talk shop with him in quite a while, so
Let's bring him on the
I just
podcast.
remember doing his homework while he was in high
Oh,
school.
Jesus Christ.
At least one or two instances. Not
I always
all of
pride
the time.
myself as being someone who could see through his charade.
Well, okay, so let's go back. We're both 31 now. Where would you say you would have thought when you were 26 in 5 years' time? Would you have been optimistic?
Oh, 26. I don't know. Where was I when I was 26? 26, I had just sold my first house and moved back into an apartment. You know,
So very optimistic.
I think that like my attitude was, um, I think I was gonna live a pretty simplistic Spartan-esque life at that point.
Hmm.
I thought the idea of property ownership was pointless. I thought I'm just going to. I really thought I was going to just live in my tiny little apartment, get like one of those little box TVs, and have a VCR, and like really live bare bones and just enjoy it. I thought I was going to be a hipster in
Mm.
5 years ago.
How long did that last?
I don't know. At a certain point, I realized that I wasn't developing the hobbies I wanted to, so it kind of
Hmm.
it kind of became necessary that I need to get property again, keep me busy.
Okay. You
Yeah.
liked it because it kind of kept you busy doing stuff, even though you'd like to have these hobbies, it just weren't
Oh yeah.
kind of like getting into it as much.
Well, luckily, I will say one of the hobbies that I wanted to. I made a list of all the stuff I wanted to um, s- succeed at or do in my life, and podcasting was one of them. So, even though we're not that successful, we're doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. Even if this podcast goes 20 years and we get to 100 subscribers, I'll see that as a win.
Heard it here first.
Well, yeah, no. Success is exponential. You've heard that too. Like you
It's
start out
true,
getting
yeah.
nothing, and then all of a sudden you balloon. Remember
Once
Jose?
you, yeah,
We interviewed him early on. He had like 24 subscribers. That was it.
yeah.
Now he has hundreds of subscribers, and his videos are getting tens of thousands of views.
Woo.
No, he's did, and I think it was. I don't know what it is. It's just
Hmm.
I don't know, persistence and a little luck. Maybe we'll
Just
get.
gotta do the right video to get us in the algorithm.
You just need one sort of um, viral video, and success just sort of comes with that. And people milk the podcasting
Hmm.
because when you can no longer have talent and you can't produce anything, you do podcasting. Well,
We're
I
like the
mean,
gym. We're like the gym teachers of of teachers.
Jim those who can't teach Jim. I
Those
was.
who can't properly analyze things, podcast.
It's like that meme you sent me. Is like why do men start podcasts instead of seeking
Oh,
therapy?
I came across that earlier tonight,
Yeah.
actually.
All right, we're getting a little off topic. Let's get back into this. But like,
Yeah. But
this.
where did you think you were better off at 26 or in 5 years?
Well,
You'd be better off.
I really didn't even have the concept of financial success. I don't know. I
Mm,
didn't even consider it as a possibility. I was never really concerned with finances. I was more concerned with spiritual development and expanding
okay.
my mind. So the 20s were a weird time. I wouldn't, I wouldn't, I wouldn't ask that question to someone in their 20s and expect it to be the same when they're in their 30s. It's a huge
Okay.
shift. Now, do I think I'll be better off 5 years from now? Yes,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Maybe we'll be eating bugs. Who knows what the future holds?
But the things in your life are starting to like crystallize, so it maybe the future seems a little more clear, I
Well,
guess.
yeah. Also, you saw that I had a spreadsheet open when we started this podcast. I
Yeah.
track almost everything financially, and it's not because I'm particularly interested in finances. I'm just really meticulous with everything in my life, and
Mm.
I track my financial success, and I can see the linear progression. So, yes, I think I'll be better off 5 years from now. I don't live paycheck to paycheck. I'm very
Yeah.
fortunate in that sense. Some people do, and um, I wonder what kind of advice I would give to someone like that. I don't know. What
Start
would
saving money or
anything
put it
you
to
can
use.
invest? Anything you can invest, but
Hmm.
it's not going to make much difference for someone who is living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know. What advice would you give to someone living paycheck to paycheck?
Stop spending all your money on these useless gadgets that you'll never use.
Ain't that the truth?
Coming from roommates that I have that live paycheck to paycheck and spend all their money on,
Booze.
well, no, not booze. That's me. Uh, no, just like on wood, you know, limb cutters that they'll probably never use again because they're probably not going to buy a house anytime
Them cutters, like
soonish.
pruners.
Pruners, yeah.
Why are they buying pruners if they don't even own their own house?
I don't know. Someone bought a weed whacker.
Okay.
I
No, I mean
mean, useful tools
there's
if you
great
keep
utility
them.
for a weed whacker if you have a lawn and you have a property to maintain. But like they're renting. What they're doing? What are they doing?
I, yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to talk about
So
who that is because my God, who's
that's
spending on?
all of them.
That's all of them. They're buying all
It's
these
all of them.
tools that they
Of course.
given their current financial path. Are any of these people owning their own house in the next 5 years?
No.
So why are you buying all
But
these
these are
yard
the
tools?
consumers.
Oh my
This is the
God.
spending class. We need them to spend money,
I'm okay
apparently.
with spending money, but like I want people to spend their money on useful things. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, but let's get back into this. So,
Yeah.
um, yada yada. 5 years time. This means that economic growth no longer appears to drive trust, at least in developing markets, upending the conventional wisdom. That's true because the economy
Hmm.
continues to grow, but people don't feel like they're actually getting a good grip of it. We are living in a trust paradox," said Richard Edelman, of CEO of Edelman. Okay. Since we began measuring trust 20 years ago, economic growth has fostered rising trust. This continues in Asia and the Middle East, but not in developed markets, where the national income inequality is now the more important factor. That's kind of what I said earlier. I said in developing countries, the Asia and Middle East would be in that category. Working hard, you can see the benefits of it. Working hard in this economy, not necessarily.
Yeah. It's a different thing. Like, would you say the American dream has kind of shifted uh, since the whole concept kind of arose in the early 20th century?
Here's what I think. I think that workers in the mid to slightly late 20th century, we're talking like post World War II up until like the 90s,
Hmm.
the demand for labor was high in this economy. Now it's not. And we're seeing that. I
Hmm.
think that blue-collar labor isn't as valued as much because we have automation, we have outsourcing, and we have immigration. The combination of these three things kind of basically means blue-collar work is undervalued, and a lot of people, I would say, feel like they're like sort of they're left behind in this new world. Now, if you look at a lot of objective metrics of the economy we live in today, the world is much better off today than it was 30 years ago. But it doesn't feel
Hmm.
like that to people. And why? Because income inequality actually does matter. It really matters to people. They look at others and they see this is my position relative to you, and
Hmm.
I'm not doing that well. So,
Yeah, and I think like in order to be considered wealthy, I think the average American thinks you have to have at least $7 million. I
holy
think.
shit.
Yeah,
And if you
and
polled people in the third world, what would you need to be considered wealthy? They'd probably say just not starving.
yeah,
No, seriously, like just like
food and
a
shelter.
working class job in America is wealthy to most of the people in the world.
Hmm. So maybe people don't think they'll be better off just because I think most people think that they'll own a home eventually. I feel like that is most people.
I think that's changing.
Okay.
I
Um,
think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see the big banks claim a lot of homes, and we're going to see sort of. Did you see that video from the World Economic Forum where they put out I don't know if it's an advertisement, but it was I don't know. I don't know what you would call it. It was just basically a video that sort of uh, explained to people what the future was going to look like, and it opened with the lines, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy."
yeah, it's the part of the sharing economy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
Yeah, but I think
I
that
mean, yeah,
I
there's
think
like apps now where you can go in and invest a little bit of money into owning a rental property. And that's what most people, more people with more money are just buying up houses to rent.
I know it's really a shame. I don't like that.
I don't know how I feel about it either.
I got no problem with people spending their money as they see fit because they can see that, like, hey, real estate's a wise investment because you get real income coming in the door. But at the same time,
Hmm.
I want to see more people. I want to see more people buying their first home, getting married, having kids, and living the American dream, like we talk about.
Hmm.
And I don't see that anymore. I think like millennials, our generation, they don't get married, they don't have kids, and they don't buy their first home, and that's probably
They
all connected.
and they get married later,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
have kids later.
Yeah.
But that's also a thing I think going on throughout the world too, which is another issue. At
Isn't
least in
the
developed countries.
Yeah, I was about to it definitely is in like Western and Northern Europe. Yeah, they're having hard
Mhm.
time I don't know about getting started. What do you think about like this I do you know anyone who's living on unemployment right now?
I think everyone I know in my circle is off unemployment now.
They're off it. Okay, but
Yeah.
they were on it for a while?
Yeah, I think my roommate Grayson was the last one, and he stayed on a long time because he's just doing schooling right now.
Okay.
So,
See, that's why when I always think about UBI, is like UBI really the solution? Because essentially what we had this last year, the pandemic, was a form of UBI. People's needs are being met. They're living off of unemployment.
saw some interesting things because of it.
Yeah, and I don't. Okay, we also didn't see the production go plummeting, for one.
Hmm.
So people were sustainable.
People kept consuming.
Yeah.
It's the service industry that really kind of suffered.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Um,
and whatever the fuck to do with lumber. No, seriously, I went to Lowe's to buy some wood just for a project, and I loaded up my cart and calculated how much I owed, and I was like, you know what? I'll wait.
and prices have been going down day by day, haven't they? Right?
I don't
As
know
far
about
as lumber.
as far as lumber, they skyrocket. I wish I could bring up maybe a price. Lumber prices skyrocket. Let's just say that. What came up? Price of 1,000 board
look
feet
at a
of
more
lumber is
recent
Jones
article.
or more
Go
recent.
to the news
May
tab.
3rd. Is that if it's coming down there? Thank God.
Yeah,
Why is there a lumber shortage? Fact check: COVID-19 to blame for spike in lumber prices. Soaring lumber prices add $36,000 to the cost of a new home. How record high lumber prices are making new home less affordable. I don't know.
it's just within the last few weeks has been going down. So
If that's the case, then great. Because, my God,
it's the same thing with like used cars. Like used cars shot up by 10% in price just within month to month
because you had
prices.
this huge influx of new cash, and
Well, a lot of the reason is that a lot of the rental companies went out of business during the pandemic, and a lot of the used car companies get their cars from the used rental companies, and without them having new cars to give to them, that they had to raise the prices on the cars that were left over.
so why did the rental companies go out of business?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, when rental, you talk about car rentals, or you talk about like just real estate?
I think it's car rentals.
Oh.
I think it's because everyone moved to Zoom meetings. They didn't have to travel, rent a car while they're in the city for business or traveling.
I do think that what we're going to see in the next 5 years is going to be a hollowing out of major cities, because what we found out is more and more jobs can be done remotely. And here's one of the lesser known facts about our modern world. So, adjusted for inflation, real estate is less expensive than it was 30 years ago. But the reason we don't think
crazy.
that, it's crazy to think that, right? But the truth is, yes, that's true. But the reason why that is because reason why most people don't realize that is because most people live around urban centers where the prices definitely have gone high. But if those people leave those urban centers, they can find out, holy shit, real estate actually isn't that expensive. We can actually live on half the budget we had in the city and still work remotely. So I think that what we're going to see is a lot of people move away from major metropolitan areas towards more small cities or rural areas. And that will lead towards probably more traffic, but more stabilizing prices.
I was gonna say, what do you think about like this new hybrid model that a lot of these companies that can do business over, Zoom are implementing?
Well, like I said, we didn't see a huge drop off in productivity amongst workers doing the teleconferencing for 90% of their work. I'm all for it. I'll tell you, the one great thing that happened at the early days of the pandemic, for anyone who remembers, traffic was amazing. In the sense it was you had the whole road to yourself. Never before had I felt such joy driving. Not seeing another living soul. Fuck them. So stay home, office workers. Just zoom in on your meetings. Talk about your meaningless bullshit with your other Zoom meetingers. And then let the rest of us workers live our lives with peace.
True that.
True.
Traffic's starting to pick up again, which I don't like.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Working in
Not nearly to the level it was before, but I know it's starting to get worse.
Working in an office is all about synergy. It's meaningless buzzwords. They have meetings to discuss how we can have more productive meetings.
Exactly.
It's bullshit. All right.
I hate corporatocracy.
Oh,
Bureaucracy.
I hate bureaucracy too. We really got to finish this article, but because we haven't even really addressed the main thing. Fears are stifling hope, and long-held assumptions about hard work leading to upward mobility are now invalid. Well, like I said, I think this new world is hard work is sort of necessary, but it's not enough. In the past, it might have been enough. But growing trust. Yeah.
That ad right below this last paragraph says Asgard.
What kind of podcast are we running here?
I just had to point that.
Are we 13-year-olds? Come on, Tina, get your shit together.
Come on, man.
56% of the surveyed global population said capitalism in its current form does more harm than good in the world. I disagree.
Hmm.
Most employees, 83% globally, are worried about job loss due to automation, a looming recession, lack of training, cheaper foreign competition, immigration, and gig economy. Yeah, I would say that's the legitimate concerns, all of them.
You think that might be the biggest reason why people aren't optimistic is just because it seems inevitable that, a lot of these jobs will be taken.
I think a lot of these jobs are going to go away. I worry about that myself, working mostly on skilled labor. Is my job going to be obsolete in 10 years? And then what?
Hmm.
I worry
Do
about
you
that.
think it will be?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm a proponent of UBI. I just don't think that. My thoughts on UBI is it's it doesn't solve the problem, but it solves a problem, not the problem.
Hmm.
And the a problem that people are going to have to worry about is what are we going to do about the fact that we have a lot of people um in the economy who are obsolete. Like
Mm.
there's just no point. Automation is basically making them obsolete.
Yeah, so how do we create value out of these
Well,
unskilled workers?
now the best proponents of UBI usually say that like if you just give them a basic standard of living, let's say they can pay their bills and have enough money in the bank where they're not going to starve, they're not going to go homeless. The idea is that,
Hmm.
well, now they'll spend their time with more fruitful endeavors. They'll make art, they'll work on their personal projects that they've always wanted to work on, and then we'll have an influx of new creative capital. We have a bunch of new products people might want that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise because they were too busy working these 9 to 5 jobs that dedicate all their time.
Hmm.
Now, I think a more realistic explanation is that most people are going to smoke weed, masturbate, and play video games.
I mean, we did see a lot of people do home repairs and a lot of home maintenance
Yeah,
during the
it's one of the reasons why lumber is so expensive. The supply chain shut down, and
so many people,
and the
yeah.
demand for home renovations went way up. So I'm actually optimistic in that regard. But oh, raccoon! There's a raccoon just went through my backyard. Shoot.
Don't normally see them.
Not this early. What time is it?
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of summertime, so your perception of what time is becomes
I'm
messed up. While
but
65% of the worldwide informed public aged 25 to 65 university educated and the top 25% of household income said they trust their institutions, only 51% of the mass public, everyone else, representing 83% of the total global population, said the same. Well, of course, those in that's the thing. Like, yes, university educated people are more apt for this new economy. So yeah,
yeah,
they're gonna feel less worry about it.
they have more of a pedigree and more of a network than these other people.
Well, they
That
speak the common language. No, I'm serious. There's a different language being spoken between working class people and upper middle rich class peoples. Yes, and
that's
the networking aspect comes in the fact that you can speak the same language with one another. Like I've worked around working class people enough to know they're not dumb.
hmm.
They're certainly smart and they know what they're doing. They just don't speak the same language as a lot of these people.
I gotcha. You think the internet has a lot to do with that? You think, before the internet became very widely available and accessible, maybe these working class people might not be as well informed?
Maybe. I don't know.
Not a bad thing though, right?
Well, certainly not.
Obviously.
No, yeah, yeah. Uh, I hadn't thought about that. Just the idea the internet is actually keeping people.
I don't know if it's made people smarter, but the people are at least they have more information at their hands. Whether what they believe, that's a whole nother discussion.
I just think that the most working class people focus their attention on certain endeavors that don't interest the middle class people. It's that simple.
Hmm.
The working class people are interested in building stuff. They're interested in putting stuff together. They're fixing stuff, and I'm I just don't think that like that's what the middle class people think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. What would you say the working class is not the middle class though?
Well, the working class I deal with is certainly maybe middle class, but
Mm-hmm.
like it's when I talk about class, it's not simply economic. It's also
Mm-hmm.
social. There's a certain language. Like I come back to the language thing. Like um, if you have an office job, you speak a certain language, and if you have a field job, working with your hands, you speak a certain language, and that's where the disconnect is. It's
Mm-hmm.
like because you can have like a plumber who's making 85,000 a year, and you can have an office worker who's working like making like $45,000 a year, but they're two different classes, not necessarily economic, but of social.
So at what class does this where does the disparity grow,
I think
would you say?
it's the social aspect. It's not about economics. Like I said, I bring up the example. A lot of skilled laborers can make good money, but they're never going to enter the higher strata of society because they don't speak their language. The office class people, the white collar jobs, they're having different discussions at dinner parties. The working
Mm-hmm.
class people are talking football, and they're talking cars, usually, typically.
Okay.
You know, and it's just a different cultural, it's a different social status, but it's not economics.
Our friend Junior, what do you consider him? Blue collar or white collar?
See, that's the thing. I was going to talk to you about this actually because I have such little interaction with Junior at this point that I don't know anything about him.
Just got his title changed to senior estimator. No pay upgrade, but
I
he's
was
definitely a white collar guy that talks mostly sports and cars and things of that nature, and
yeah,
maybe what crypto or stock to invest in.
probably. See, that's actually the one thing I wanted to say. Like, so like if I talk to Junior, I'm probably gonna have more in common with Junior than I do Jeremy, for instance. But I still love Jeremy, and I want to, and I consider him more of a friend than Junior at this point, because Jeremy interests me. He interests the fuck out of me.
He definitely had some interesting conversations, and then
Yeah, one of them got out of hand.
I don't even remember what it was about.
Well, you were drunk. Well, no, we were all drunk. But I don't even know if we're that drunk, but you had gone to the bathroom at that point. So you
Yeah,
missed out
yeah.
the whole thing. I'm going to get
It
another.
was about police or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, we could talk about that maybe when I get right back because we got to get to two more stories. But also, maybe off the air, we could talk about that some more. But I got to get another one more
Sure.
drink. So pause. And we're back.
Move on to the next topic.
We'll move on to the next topic, but quick talk about Jeremy because this is interesting. I thought we were going to talk about it. I don't know. So the one I blew up at Jeremy after a long day together. We were in Bend, drinking, having a lot of fun, and then I took I don't know what it was that he said that kind of went over the line for me. Um, in general, I think it was just his overall rhetoric throughout the day that I kind of held my tongue about for a long time. So, have you ever known someone who masks their true opinions through jokes and humor?
I would say that's most people. I
Yeah.
want to say. I mean, except for maybe when they know they're around like-minded people, but I think most people will try to joke things off before, like getting serious.
Yeah, it was. I think that like I was trying to figure out how much of what Jeremy was saying was a joke and how much of it was his actual opinions.
He can be hard to his line is very thin.
Yeah, but it was just like I think we were obviously talking about the cop thing, and we were talking about the crime rates and everything increasing, and I don't know. It just it got on my I took it very personally because I don't know. I just see people dying, and I see someone who's more or less encouraging it, and it bothered me. Um, but I wanted to say this about my conversations with Jeremy because I kind of I have two thoughts. First, I think that I still love the guy and I still have hope in him. I just think that he's embraced the cynicism of life too much. So,
Oh, you think he's gone too a little too cynical?
yeah. So, I
That's
think
the thing. When he kind of like drops his mask, he seems very empathetic.
no, I know that's what I mean. I know he's a good guy. I just think that he's basically made he's understood the world is a rotten place, so I must therefore become rotten. Is my fear is what he's become.
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing. Like um, he's not wrong in his claim that the world is a rotten place.
Hmm.
The end of the movie Seven has a great line. The end of the movie Seven is Morgan Freeman says the world is a fine. He's quoting Ernest Hemingway, but he says, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part. So,
Okay.
so the first part of that statement, "The world is a fine place," that's naivety because it's not. The world is a terrible place, and worth fighting for. A cynic says, no, it's not worth fighting for. But the person who transcends their cynicism actually understands that there is good in the world that we must shoot for. And that's the
Hmm.
problem, as I think that I don't know, that Jeremy has more or less embraced the cynicism of the world.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about cynicism is it can take it can take a root and it can grow.
Yeah, I know. But
Especially if you around more cynical people. But I think he generally has a hard time maybe conveying raw kind of emotions or values.
well, that's the thing. I actually believe he's a good person at heart. It's
Hmm.
just his realization that the world's a terrible place, and he just sort of embraced that. So
Hmm.
that's why I often compare him with another friend of ours. I won't say him out loud, but I think
Okay.
he's a friend of ours who I've known for a long time, and he hates me currently.
Okay.
Okay, you now know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I never know what state
So
your
yeah,
relationship's in.
so here's the funny part. If I'm having a conversation with Jeremy and I'm having a conversation with this other friend we're talking about, I might find myself having more in common with that friend who currently hates me. Jeremy and I are probably going to butt heads a lot more because we disagree on a lot. But
I think you talked about that on the first night.
yeah, no, I'm happy with the disagreements. I love the disagreements, and that's the thing with Jeremy. But here's the thing that really I want to get at. Jeremy and I disagree a lot, and he says a lot of things that probably piss me off a lot more than this other friend. But I still see the compassion in Jeremy. So
It's
my
harder
other,
to see what place he's coming from,
let's put
maybe.
it this way. So if we're just putting this into terms, let's just say Jeremy is an advocate of socialism. I don't know if he is or not. A lot of what he says seems that way to me. I think
Hmm.
socialism is far more harmful than it is beneficial. But I see the compassion in it. Now, this
Hmm.
other guy, I don't see it. That's what bothers me about this other guy is like he will flat out tell you that he's fully motivated by self-interest and money. He is all for the establishment. So Jeremy is anti-establishment, and he's probably not on the same vein as me. But he understands that
Hmm.
the establishment isn't working and it's not good for the majority of people. This other guy would just basically advocate for the establishment. He doesn't want change. He wants to continue on the path that basically benefits him and hurts others. That's why
Hmm.
I would say with Jeremy, I have more in common almost than this other guy.
Okay. Who would you say is more honest between the two?
Probably, well, probably Jeremy. That's the thing. I
Okay.
don't want him to mask his opinions through dark humor, though. That's just tell me what you think, because that's one of the things I tried to get out of him after I blew up, is because I didn't know how much of what he was saying he actually believed, and I just wanted to say, hey, all games aside, tell me what you actually think. And it's still, I didn't know if he was still joking or not.
And the thing with Jeremy is it can be a little harder to find that too, especially the more he drinks.
I just wanted to hear him say that he didn't actually mean the things he was saying. Because I can take dark humor. I like dark humor, but it just kept going. At a certain point, you get to this realization that someone is just masking their opinions with humor, and that
Okay.
concerned me.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe uh the despair or the divide between the two is a little more murky with Jeremy.
Well,
The
I don't
the
have any.
opinion and the humor.
No, I mean, the opinions don't. Well, it depends on. It really depends on how much he meant, and how much was just a joke. It really does come to that. Because
Hmm.
you and I disagree on a lot, and I respect our differences because I think you're a good guy and you want the same outcomes I do. We just have different ways of going about it. With Jeremy, he crossed the line a lot in terms of the dark humor. And like I said,
Ah.
I'm an advocate of dark humor, but I didn't know how much of it was real.
Okay. It's just it became so much that it's like is there some sort of vein of
Do you actually believe what you're saying, or are you just trying to get a joke, a rise out of people? Because that's what Junior
it,
did with Jeremy a lot too, and I could tell he wanted to get a rise out of Jeremy. I didn't know if Junior was saying stuff just to piss off Jeremy. So
what do you think of the quote? I think it was Patrice O'Neill said it, where the comedian, where all humor comes from the same place.
what's the same place?
I mean, I guess from within. I guess it's from the same source.
All humor comes from the same source.
Hmm.
A lot of my humor comes from this sense that I feel like the world is getting worse and I have to make light of it because to deal with the fact that the world is getting worse would be just constant pessimism and constant dread.
Okay,
That's
it's
why I have to
more
make light of stuff.
okay.
The only problem is I see Jeremy contributing to the negativity of the world.
Hmm.
When he says things like he used these words, I'm not paraphrasing, quote, conservatives disgust in putrid filth. It's like, okay, are you just saying that because you're trying to be edgy and you want to make a joke, or do you really mean that?
And he'll double down, like especially like if you call him out and saying, "Are you joking or not?" I think he would double down on
Yeah,
the.
that's the thing. I know. That's the really frustrating part about it. Is like, like he thinks it's funnier if he keeps up the joke. But that's why when I blew up, when I did, I really had to come back to that table and just say I want like full honesty. Just I want to hear you say this is just a joke. You don't actually want to kill the rich. You don't want to kill the insurance agents.
I know, Jeremy. He says, I do, I will. I do.
I know, and he just keeps double downing on the joke. And I just like, okay, so there's two ways I can interpret that. It's one, he really means it, or two, he doesn't know when the joke is over, and I just want to have a conversation.
Or maybe he's just not aware of when you really want to, or maybe he just doesn't want to go there.
Well, that was the
he'll
first.
just keep doubling down.
I think he was shocked by what happened because it was the first time that, like, I've ever shown Eddie such emotion around him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was a little shocked by that. He was taken aback.
Yeah.
Like I said something. He must have thought I said something that actually got under his skin, and I didn't want to do that.
Well, you know, sometimes it's important to test people's boundaries, but
It was the constant like trivializing of people's lives and the constant. Oh, I would gladly torture my political opponents and kill them, and I want to believe that it was all just dark humor, but there was a part of me that just thought, well, I didn't know if it was 100% humor, and he might have actually meant it.
that's where it becomes murky.
It becomes really difficult because. So I feel like there's some common ground that can be found on all political sides, is that we should value human life. We don't trivialize that life was lost, and we don't advocate for violence. He was doing that the entire night, and I was thinking, is this humor or dark humor, or is this real?
I think I think it's just the cynic in him. I really have very deep discussions with him, but when I do, he usually gets a little bit more quiet and doesn't know exactly what to think. Like most like raw emotions, they're raw. They're not fleshed out.
I also have to realize that he's not that old. He's 25, 24.
He's not even in the workforce yet.
I know. I mean, like, I maybe have to realize that he's still coming about, and that
I think some years being a lawyer might change his mind.
Oh my God!
I think that's what most lawyers will say.
I don't know. I feel like most lawyers will come out jaded, harder. I don't think that they're going to maintain compassion. I feel like they'll give it up and realize, okay, I thought the word was sick, and it's sicker than I thought.
Yeah, I know. Like, oof.
That's the one thing I worry about. Like that's like when I talk about Jeremy, I really do worry that he has embraced the cynicism of life.
Okay, which would seem interesting since he's so young. Most young people aren't too cynical, and if they are, that's usually because of some trying to impress girls or whatnot.
Do you think he does that?
I don't see him being as cynical when his humor around women is not as dark per se.
You know, the one topic that I really wanted to talk more about with Jeremy, but we didn't talk about because we're so fixated on politics and stuff, is I wanted to hear about his dating life. I want to hear about his romantic life. I wanted to hear what his hopes were for the near future on that. And I don't want to push that on people, but I also just curious, like, what his thoughts on that were.
Yeah, I think we'd probably talk about how women have a certain thing for men in a uniform.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
That came
just
up?
I mean, like, the whole thing where army people tend to, there's women that just love army guys for
don't tell
military
me
guys.
He did the military to get girls.
No, I
tell
don't think he did it for that reason.
But he's not wrong either. I think that's a legitimate thing. But do you think? Okay, so Jeremy, why don't you think Jeremy is more successful with women?
Probably because he's not that tall.
Really, it's superficial stuff
I
like that.
think I think he. I
That's
mean, he is. Sorry to say, particularly short, but that it's not always the biggest disadvantage. I think
well,
once he starts making money, he might do better. Plus, he doesn't, drive, so it's not like he can get to places to meet women very easily either. That's probably a big factor.
do you think that shoot, there's no way of framing this question without leading it. Do you think that women are superficial in that way? That they're gonna go for a tall guy? That
Would it be more superficial to go for a tall guy or a guy with money?
I would say it's more superficial to go for a tall guy. And I'll say
Because
that
it's
because
literally just a trait. That's a
it's
physical
little,
trait.
yeah, it's something that's immalleable. It's like I was born with these genes. I can't change them. Money, money, you can say at least reflects some other traits, it's intellect or skills or work ethic. You can sort of
Or,
like infer more about a person through their income than you can their height. Not that it's right to do that
and
because you
can
could
you infer certain things from taller people?
they can reach certain things. Like, I don't know. Like
Bang
what
their
was it?
head a lot more.
I don't know. I feel like tall guys might have more arrogance.
It's usually like a dominance factor, isn't it? That's probably why taller men are usually more
I I think
desired.
I think it is a dominance factor. I know it's so caveman thinking, but it probably is. You're probably right.
But it only goes up to a certain height. Like after a bit, the positives don't get that much better. I
So there's a
think like
max out there.
yeah, I think it's around 6'2".
6'5". 6'2"?
6'2", yeah.
Really? I'd say
6'2" is like the ideal height.
I would
And
say
it
it's
probably
six.
has to do with the average height of women, honestly.
I was gonna say it's 6'5" or so, but my family is a little taller than usual, than most
Hmm.
families. I'm the runt, by the way.
Wait, you're smaller than your sister?
Not my sister, but like my of all the if you put all the men in my family, I'm the runt. My brother's 6'2", my dad's six
Okay.
four, my uncle's 6'5".
Oh,
I'm 5'11".
would it be weird if you had kids taller than you?
Oh man,
I
man,
know
that
you
would
weren't expecting
no,
that.
I wasn't expecting that question. It would be shocking. But like I have to,
Yeah.
I wish I could ask my grandfather about that because my grandfather wasn't particularly tall, but my dad's 6'4",
Hmm.
so he would know a little bit about that experience. I don't know. It's not even in the genes too. My wife's family is somewhat tall. Like her brother is taller than I am.
Really?
Yeah, he's about 6'1", 6'2", maybe.
Wow.
Hmm.
Didn't expect that. And I mean, she's not short by any means, but
Oh, she's average height.
yeah.
Yeah, but like, there's a possibility that our kid is going to be taller than I am, and I hadn't even faced the possibility of what that might mean. I have no idea.
I mean, if it happens, it's a long time from now. So
I'll always say that I'm older than he is. I don't know what I can have. All right,
wiser.
let's talk about this
Yeah.
last subject because yeah, we've talked for almost an hour. Let's bang this one out.
Okay.
We're not gonna do this subject. We don't have time. Third Eye invented to stop smartphone zombies from crashing into things.
Have you personally ever crashed into something looking at your phone?
I think so. It bothers me that that's true, but I think I have. Yeah. According to the design,
Yeah.
according
I'm
to
sure I have, but I can't remember a specific instance.
yeah. According to the designer, the satirical solution is designed to help people recognize the severity of their smartphone addictions. All right, so that's a little reassuring, right? This is mostly a gag product to make people
Hmm.
realize that they are being stupid.
It's a good, yeah. What's that? Present. When you get, it's a good get gift.
Yeah. A third eye has been developed to keep smartphone zombies from stumbling into items while staring at their devices. Pong Min Wook, a 28-year-old South Korean industrial designer, claims that the robotic eyeball can be fastened to a person's forehead, allowing them to browse without injury. He described the device as a satirical remedy that he hoped would cause people to recognize the intensity of their gadget addiction and look in the mirror. Okay, so have you noticed a certain level of addiction to our devices amongst people? You live in Seattle, so you might see a lot more pedestrians. Are people fixated to their phones, do you think?
I can feel my own like kind of addiction to my phone. Like, I can be cognizant of like how many times I'm actually looking at it, and um, like if I lost my phone, I definitely feel like holy shit, what what am I gonna do? Um,
What do you think that what do you think most people are doing with their phones that is keeping them from looking up at the world?
I I think they're just kind of browsing and maybe social media, maybe like random casual things on Imager, memes,
Yeah,
news articles. I don't. They're scrolling. I don't think they're
it's,
actually reading anything intently.
I agree. Actually, I think that's actually a big thing. Most smartphone users aren't using them wisely. They're just sort of passing the time.
Uh, When's the last time you were walking? You remember reading like a whole article while you were walking?
Oh, never. I never would do that. If I'm reading a whole article, I'm sitting somewhere.
Yeah, I'm usually just like scanning it if I'm walking somewhere,
Be
even on
honest,
a
but
long
I,
walk.
I don't think that I walk and scroll. Personally, I don't think that I do that very often.
Okay.
I really don't. I think that I don't do that because one, people who do that infuriate me, so I'd be a hypocrite. But also, just like what is so important that I can't keep my attention on the real world? Nothing.
Hmm.
I try to keep that all in perspective. The real world trumps anything you can find online.
What's your longest, most unimportant walk in the day?
On average,
Yeah.
I pace a lot.
Okay. That's different.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, because you're pacing to think about something, right? You're
Usually,
not
yeah,
just pacing mindlessly.
pacing helps me think.
I
So
think that's a very true thing. I don't think you can mindlessly pace.
no, no. My longest walk on it. It's not a good question because I'm not Seattle, so it's not
Hmm.
a pedestrian type city. So I don't really need to walk much anywhere. I drive
May,
everywhere.
yeah, I mean maybe that's why it's like more seems like it's more of a city thing. Is like I can when I took the bus, I would on my walks to the bus, I would probably scroll on my to and from the bus
I was
or
curious. Did you buy the car because you didn't like public transit, or did you just buy the car because you moved further away from the city?
I bought the car because the set of people that I lived with chose a house that's nowhere near a direct bus route to work.
So if you still lived in the city, you wouldn't have the car.
Oh, yeah, I loved living in Northgate, a block away from the bus, and being able to take that.
Why don't you want to move back? Like, I mean, okay, so how many people are living in the house that are still part of the original group of people that you originally wanted to live with?
Three of the four.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I
Bobby was the only one that moved out.
really? So Junior still lives there?
Are you talking about the Northgate house?
Well, I'm saying like when you originally lived in Seattle, there was a group of guys you wanted to live with. You know, it was
Yeah, there's a group of guys I chose to live
Junior,
with when we moved out
Bobby.
of Northgate.
There was Junior,
But
Bobby, Nader, Brody, Matt, maybe Peter. Like these
Oh, are you
guys,
talking about when we moved to Northgate?
I don't remember, man. It's been years. But
A junior and I were the only people throughout the 7 years that lived at the house the entire time. We had 13 other guys that lived there.
do you miss them?
One sister, but
So, how many people are? So I got. How many roommates do you have now?
four.
How many of those roommates do you like?
I like them all.
Okay.
I'm
How
having
many?
to get to know Lucy, but that's a whole other discussion.
Maybe on the air.
Maybe, yeah.
But you didn't know Lucy very well before you moved in.
Yeah, and I felt like I was really getting to know her before she transitioned, and then that kind of I've had I don't know, it's such a fundamental change that
Is she the
you
first
know
trans person you've never known?
personally probably I've known of trans people, but not I've never like had like a relationship with one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you don't talk to her very often.
Not as much as we had been. It's
So,
something that's always on my mind.
so you
Like,
talk to Ty quite a bit, and then once
not
Ty
initially,
became
no.
Lucy, then
Yeah, the first year we lived together, we didn't talk that much. Probably still talked occasionally, kind of gave comments to each other occasionally, and then like probably when the pandemic hit, we started talking a bit more and getting to know each other. And then when
let's
she transitioned,
let's put this on a scale of 1 to 10 because let's make it easy for the audience. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you feel you knew Ty?
5, probably 5.
So not that great. And then
Yeah,
on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know Lucy?
4.
Well, it's not that big a difference, man. Like it sounds like you didn't know him very well, and now you don't know her very well. So it's just that there's a roommate you live with, you don't know very well.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is it's been kind of a fluid thing. It's kind of started out more fluid and now has become more of a kind of more crystallized transition.
That was kind of what I
Um,
noticed on their Facebook page,
mhm.
because at first it seemed like it was sort of a like loosey goosey, like, hey, I'm still sort of Ty, but I'm also Lucy. I'm non-binary. I'm they, he, she, yada yada yada. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden, it did transition. Oops, oops. Oh shit. Okay, and then somewhere along the line, she became more of a permanent her, I guess.
Yeah, and she's going to start taking steps to become more of that. So,
You mean like
no, no, yeah, hormones.
oh, hormones, but not
Hmm.
like top surgery or bottom surgery?
No, and I don't know if she would ever do that,
Really?
but
Well, why wouldn't she want to appear more feminine if that's who she is?
I think, it's different for every trans people or person.
Huh.
Um,
I mean, is it a
you know,
money thing or is it just sort of a personal preference thing? I don't expect
I
you to
think it's
know
a
that.
preference thing.
Okay, so yeah, okay.
I think for her, it's uh, feeling more feminine
But
than
also, she's
being
dating a woman, right?
they.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I don't know them as well.
Okay. Okay. This is kind of a detour of our bigger this is a bigger conversation we should have on another like podcast. Um, but the overall point was the roommates you're living with now are not like you're not to the same degree of comfort that you had years ago when you knew everyone you were living with. Is it?
Probably, I might say, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay,
I
I
would
thought
say
that
so. I mean,
so
Lucy's really the only outlier.
okay. So I know you know Jonathan. I mean, like, gladly bring him back on the podcast because he's good for ratings.
Yeah, he
No
is.
fucking joke.
He be
That one
having
video is
fun.
the only video that we have that's over like 500 views now.
Is it over 500?
It's something like that.
Holy moly.
I have no idea why. It's probably because I put porn in the tags and they just people are typing that in and finding us. But anyways, so then there's Matt. I don't know how many other roommates you have.
And Grayson, which I don't think you've met
I haven't
Grayson.
met Grayson.
Yeah.
I should definitely come down to hang out with you guys one more time. Definitely do a full trip, if you know what I
We
mean.
might have a party around the 4th of July.
Really?
Don't know exactly when.
Speaking of
I could
parties,
also be going to the racetrack that weekend
No.
for my one race a year, but
speaking of parties, happy birthday! And you went to
Thank you.
you went to a friend's wedding,
Bachelor party.
bachelor party.
Yep.
I am not going to mention how I wasn't invited because I'm better
You
than
weren't
that.
the only person, that wasn't invited, so
I was not invited for specific purposes.
okay. You had also just been in Vegas the 2 weeks prior, though.
Oh, you guys went to Vegas?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
wow, that must have been killer. Where'd you stay at?
The Encore,
Don't know that one.
which is connected to the Wynn,
Don't know that one.
near the Mirage.
I'm a Vegas novice, I guess.
That was your first time, I know.
All right. Yeah, it's my first time, but I had
still-
fun. I had fun.
Yeah, we had great time too.
You and I will go to Vegas in the near future.
Hell yeah.
I gotta try the roulette table. That's the one thing I didn't get to do while I was down there. I got a
I
system.
lost plenty of money in blackjack.
Yeah, I got a system, which is the famous last thing that every gambler says before they lose all their money.
I got a system, I
I
swear.
got a system. It's gonna work. No.
Where?
All right.
Okay.
Okay. You know what? I think we're at. We're probably a good time. We didn't really talk about a lot of the articles we were going to, but it's been a while since we talked in general, so I was happy with the conversation.
Go where it flows, baby.
Let's go where it flows. So next time when we get together for this podcast, we'll probably stick more to the topic at hand. Hopefully.
It's our twice a year, break. So
Yeah. Much love to everyone out there. Can't wait to see everyone again. And I mean that for Jeremy, too. I really do. He really is someone who fascinates me a lot. I love him.
I almost certain you'll be talking before the end of the year.
Great. Oh, one last thing. I'm going to Houston for New Year's. I know this is
Again.
not again. I mean, like Houston for New Year's. I didn't go there for New Year's last time.
But Houston again. Yeah.
Yes, Houston again.
That's gonna ruin our New Year's streak.
Not necessarily. You could come
Are
with
you saying
us.
I need to go?
You can come with us. So so New Year's in Venezuela is a big family holiday. I didn't know that. So it's important that you spend it with your family.
Okay.
If you want
And that was the last two, or probably the first. Your wife has not spent it with some family.
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So the last two was, so I basically agreed, okay, we'll definitely go to Houston for New Year's to visit your family. But like I said, like I got a streak of like 8 to 10 years of like New Year's with Martin. I want to keep up.
She was okay with me.
and she was
coming?
like, invite him. Maybe he'll be up for it. Would you want to spend New Year's with a bunch of Venezuelans and have a party?
I would certainly be down. I've only visited West Texas, so
West Texas? No, you got to go to East Texas. West Texas is just garbage desert.
I had fun with West Texas.
Okay, well, fine. Anyways, that's a conversation for another time. But
Yeah, I can't guarantee it because the Seahawks schedule hasn't come out, so it's kind of a important thing. I've had games on New Year's Eve, so
I figure, but we'll still hang out Halloween for sure.
yeah, or second most.
Yeah, see, 2 holidays for those who are listening. 2 holidays that Tina and I have always spent together is Halloween and New Year's. So, and New Year's, hopefully, this year, Halloween for sure. So,
Hey, into Juneteenth, which just became an official holiday.
I know, and it screwed me up too. I went to the bank and it was closed.
Oh, really? I didn't know they started. So I mean, that was just
That's what
earlier
I
in the
said.
week,
I
right?
said like I thought this was like going to be starting next year, like from now on, new holiday. But no, they celebrated this year, and I was like, oh, okay, shit,
It's so
great,
crazy because
great.
we talked about it like 2 or 3 years ago, and I had only just heard of it.
I
You
had
hadn't heard of it either.
I hadn't heard of it until like a year or two ago too.
Hmm.
As
And
far as
now
like
it's a
it's
federal holiday,
yeah,
which
good
is
one.
good. We didn't have too many, in June. I
I'll
think Flag
trade
Day,
Labor Day for Election Day.
which
Seriously.
should be a federal holiday.
I don't know if you can get another one by, but you people should be able to vote. But I've
Yeah,
always wondered, like, I mean, like, can we give a holiday up to get like election day off, everyone, so they can go vote?
or the day after.
The day
No,
after
it
doesn't
kind of
mean
defeats
much.
the
It defeats the
purpose.
purpose, doesn't it? No, wait, guys, guys,
Give
open
time
up,
for
open
people
up.
to riot afterwards.
Yeah, the riot. You got to be open for the riots afterwards. One side or the other is going to riot. All right, for Tina and Karen do the tube, I am Karen.
This is Tina.
All right, stay safe, everyone, and stay hydrated. We love you.
Woo.